Will he
This should
sit
be
here?
interesting
Can
with
you
the
get
dog.
him to sit here?
No, he'll. Koda, come here.
Do you want his clicker?
Sit down. Sit down.
This is going to either be our best or worst podcast ever.
This is either going to be our best or worst podcast ever. Empowering you to build better lives. That's what we do. Okay.
Come here, come sit down.
Welcome to today's Power Principles podcast. I am here with my trusted colleague, Kathy Schultz, and my dog, Koda. And Kathy, we're here to just do a quick catch up on
the science
of being great.
Yes.
And it's a trio of the science of getting rich, being well, and being great. So today we're going to focus on the third book. And this is something that I committed to reading. Instead of reading many books, as Marcus Aurelius says, choose the few books that matter most and spend your time understanding them.
And
so
it's been these three.
I've been reading this now for 219 days, every morning, a chapter a day.
How many times have you gone through the whole book in that time?
It's got about 7 or 8.
7 or 8.
7 or 8. And I keep notes on each time I go through it. And so, yeah, it's probably 7 or 8.
And you add to those notes. And so,
yeah, and I find something new about it every time I go through it.
Even as you're reading it multiple times, you're finding new things. And I think not every book is going to give you that, but I do think a really good personal development book like this, when I think of the core principles in here, you are going to get something different based on where you are in life. And and I want to get to that because one of the things in here where, especially in the science of being great, it talks about us controlling our own thoughts and stuff. And I think about how many outside influences are hitting us. Yeah. And that's going to have an impact on where your daily work, personal, health life is on that day, what you're going to get from the book, right? Yeah. Because it's all about controlling your own thoughts and not letting the environment control us. Like that's one of the things that I think rereading this book is really cool for bringing up new thoughts.
Well, what I found, and to the point of our thoughts really control our destiny, and what is there's that old, beware of your thoughts because thoughts become actions, become outcomes, right? This idea. Yeah. One thing that I enjoy, so as we've talked about in earlier, right? So I've struggled with anxiety since I was 13 years old. Like I didn't know that was what it was called. But I remember my grandpa giving me The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And I would read this every morning until I was 22, 23 years old. And one of the things that I found in the science of being great that I've liked in doing this every day is it resets the mindset or it sets my mindset for the day on what I read.
Because you read it every morning when you
every morning instead of to start I used to wake up and I would throw my gym clothes on and get out to the gym. And this year as I started to do this, I said, no, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to do breath work, then I'm going to read, do a little meditation and read, and then I'll go to the gym. And so it's forced a new mental habit of instead of and my anxiety is peeled back. And I'm waking up, and I don't know if it's the breathing, the meditation, or the reading, but
I'm sure it's all, right?
What I know is the reading, it helps me to, because then all throughout the workout, I'm thinking about whatever that principle was. Yeah. And it just stays kind of front and center for the day.
So I was thinking, one of the episodes that we did, I think it was the earliest episode on the science of getting rich, or maybe the one when we talked about setting your intentions in the morning and having gratitude at night. I also changed my daily habits. Okay. And so I was, it takes me 10 minutes and then I can be working out. I was really set my alarm exactly what time I needed to be working out based on when my first meeting was. Yeah. And I've added meditation, prayer to my morning. And I was already doing personal development reading every morning, but I added that in where I just am 5 minutes to sit and think about what's really important. Yeah. And my days are totally different because again, during my workout, when my mind is wandering, and that takes me to kind of again, this book where it's like controlling your thoughts, my thoughts then are centered around what my big grand vision is, which is also my daily goals.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it's not about like where I want to be in 30 years. It's what I'm doing today to get there. But it's totally changed how my workouts are too. Instead of my workouts being stress ridden, they're focused on intention of what I need to do that day or the people that I care about. Half the time it's more like my family or, you know, things that are going on with my team. Like it's most of mine is around the people that I need to be thinking about and impacting that day.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's very excited about this podcast.
He is. He breathes. Buddy, come here.
I think he loves the daily reading as well.
I think he does. I think one of the big, for me, when I read through The Science of Being Great, and it really is, you know, it is about understanding that everything that we do is determined by our thoughts at the end of the day.
Right.
And he does attach, and this is Wallace Wattles, right? So who wrote The Science of Being
in the early 1900s.
Of getting rich.
Yeah.
And the logic in The Science of Getting Rich is having a clear vision, faith, action, and then leading to the outcome. This book is taking this to say, okay, so how do you guide that vision? And it's through our thoughts. And one of the things that he talks about that I really like in this book from the thought process standpoint is he says the most difficult thing to do is to think. And I've thought a lot about that because he says our minds were built to think, right? We have our prefrontal cortex from a logic and a thinking process. We have our frontal cortex that is more emotions driven, but the interpretation of emotion is thinking, and thinking is, and I've thought on that principle why it's the hardest thing we do. I actually agree. The brain burns more calories throughout the day based upon thinking, and it is hard. It's hard to think. We read a lot. Like that was my reason for doing this. Is I got on this kick of reading a book a week and trying to, and you're getting through over a year. You're reading 50 books. How much of it was actually sticking? And what I realized is I wasn't thinking about what I was reading. I was reading.
You were reading to get it done.
Yeah, and you're getting something out of it. It's like listening to a podcast. You get something out of it.
Right.
But when you think about what you read, you get so much more out of that. That out, because you're actually having to process what you read. And then if you think about it and write it down, journal it, you get even more of that reflection. And so that's one of the principles that I think is so powerful in The Science of Being Great is think. Right? Like actually think. And it's hard.
And the brain is interesting, made to think, but also how much of our brain is doing things that we can't control. Our breath, our heartbeat, our nervous system. Like the brain is phenomenal.
Yeah.
When you think about how much work it's processing in the background that we can control our breathing, but I don't think that we can overcome our brain's ability to keep us breathing, right? You can be like, I'm going to hold my breath as long as I can, and your brain's going to overpower that thought process. But so much of our brain is also like our own thoughts, and what are we doing with them? Mm-hmm. Are we beating ourselves up as we're doing things? Are we comparing ourselves to others as we're doing it? Or are we like using that power, like he says in this book, to make ourselves great, to believe we're great, and to impact others by doing that?
Yeah.
Like, because we have the power to like change the channel when our mind goes.
For sure.
You know.
For sure.
To the bad place. And no one else can control our thoughts.
Yeah.
They can we can allow it to impact us, but no one else. It's pretty cool that we get to control all that.
For sure. And you think there are voluntary thoughts and there are involuntary thoughts. Right. Our brain is always thinking. This is why we dream. We literally, our brains do not turn off. Right? You dream. Your brain is constantly working. And so it's either voluntary or involuntary. And the more that we can voluntarily control our thoughts, the more we're in control. You know, thoughts become words, words become actions, actions become outcomes. If we're not in control of our thoughts, which admittedly, for so much of my life I haven't been. And even in a day, to your point, I bet you I only control my thoughts a fraction of the full day. And the rest of the time, my thoughts are what's happening around me, and my mind's meandering through.
Yeah.
And so I think being very intentional about the thinking is critical.
Well, and I mean, I want our listeners and us to think about how many times do we do something to distract ourselves so that we're not lost in our thoughts?
That's right.
Listening to music, watching TV shows, like we do that so that our brain is doing other things instead of thinking, and we need to spend time in our thoughts. But
for sure,
you have to learn how to make those positive thoughts if you're going to spend time in your thoughts. Because I think when we don't know how to control our thoughts, and that's what I think people should read this book to be like, my thoughts are my power. Yeah. But otherwise, we're going to like always be playing music so that we're thinking about lyrics instead of thinking about like what we can impact. It's just distraction. And it's very easy to create things for your mind to be focused on so that you're not actually controlling your thoughts. An outside thing is.
I think to that point, and it's interesting. So I was listening to a podcast. Elon Musk did a podcast a few months ago, and with Lex. What's Lex's podcast? In any case, as he was going through it, Musk makes a comment in there that he says, "Everyone thinks they would want to be me, but if you were in my mind, you would not want to be me. My mind is a storm." And they got into this discussion about some of the most brilliant minds have, and genius is the ability to focus intensively for a duration, right? So you think about people that the Einsteins of being able to think, or the theory of relativity was born through looking at a prism, right? Robert Nash, I think, was the one that did it. It's that ability to think, but there is a point where those thoughts become overpowering, and just thinking doesn't mean that you're in control of what you are thinking. And so what Wattles talks about in terms of how do we control what we're thinking, there's foundational principles that we need to be focused upon in terms of being great. And what's interesting in the book is he talks about these principles are really what is our orientation overall with the world, with humanity. He talks about, being great begins with doing small things in a great way. And then he talks about when you do small things in a great way, so you start with thinking, then you do small things in a great way, and eventually those small things become greater things, and those eventually greatness, you do greatness. So if you think of somebody that he uses a lot, so again, written in 1900, he uses Abraham Lincoln as a great man who thought great things, thought about freedom, human rights, way back in the 1800s, thought through those things. But he was a backwoods lawyer from Illinois. He was not born into greatness. And he wasn't born as a great attorney or lawyer. He wasn't born as a great politician. It was by thinking great thoughts and then doing small things in a great way, doing the small things as a backwoods lawyer. And I don't know his history before that. By doing the small things in a great way, he eventually was put into the position where he was. And at some point, it would be logical to think that, okay, he becomes president of the United States. Well, does he just start gliding at that point? Or is he now in the position to do great things in a great way?
And have a greater impact. With his thoughts and
but it would never start if we didn't start doing small things. Well, it wouldn't start if we didn't think about it and then start
doing the small things.
And then doing small things in a great way. So one of the things I was journaling that I do each time I go through is, what are great thoughts? Like if we're going to think about great thoughts, what are great thoughts? And of course, it's kind of like you look at it's like an onion, right? It starts with me. Well, what are great thoughts for me? Well, how am I spending my time? Am I developing spiritually, physically, mentally, financially? Am I developing those are those are great things in this kernel of myself. But then I extend out to my family, which he talks about, be great at home. That was the chapter 2 days ago I read, is being great at home. How do I treat my kids, the people I love, and then your friends, and then your society, and then you just keep growing in greatness. But starting with what are those great thoughts that we should fill our time with? And I was thinking about you because I was like, okay, Kathy, you're a fiction-loving reader.
I love fantasy fiction, yes.
Either when you're doing fiction, and by the way, having a release from our thoughts is and entertaining refreshes our mind, enables us to then refocus on things. But are you finding, when you go through that, do you ever find in fictional reading, do you ever find great ideas and great thoughts from what you read that you think make you a better person, make you a more expansive person?
So one of the things that I love about fantasy is...
Sorry, fantasy, not fiction.
Same thing, though. Fantasy fiction.
No, I think
even
fantasy,
bigger than fiction is fantasy.
Yes,
because it doesn't hold. Here's what I love about it and how it changes my thoughts. It's not beholden to society's rules.
Yeah.
Right. So my mind can actually be more imaginative if there was a different set of rules in society. Yeah. If gravity doesn't work the same, like it, right? Like it allows my mind to not stop in this set of rules. Yeah. And that's one of the things I love about it, which there's different magic systems in them. There's different but there's always politics in every one of them. And so you watch these relationships, there's always like relationships with people. And so you see this, but it's outside of our society context.
Yeah.
He loves this. I think Koda wants you to read fantasy.
Yeah, Koda loves
because
fantasy.
He's like, Ryan, free your mind from the rules of society by reading a magic book.
No, that's interesting.
But to me, that's where it allows my mind more ability to broaden.
Yeah.
Because in this world, there are rules that are rules.
Yeah.
Like, this is how gravity works. But even societal rules are societal rules.
Yeah.
But my mind can think about how relationships and how things work in a totally broader spectrum.
Yeah.
If you're in space in a sci-fi or if you're in a magic world in a fantasy.
Yeah.
So I think it creates even more expansive thoughts for me.
Well, if we think about, so anything great created on this planet is new, right? It's been imagined.
Right.
And from imagination, I mean, air travel, right?
Right.
Space travel.
Yeah.
Like if people aren't able to imagine great things, great ideas, we wouldn't have any of that.
Right. And I think most fantasy comes from people's dreams.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those thoughts are their minds wandering, right?
Yeah,
and so then they come up with these really fun ideas.
Yeah.
Because it's where their mind went.
Yeah.
Because how many times you have dreams and you're like, okay, but that could never happen.
Yeah.
And so then you can just shut it down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the mind has thought all of this, right?
So there are a couple
and it's an escape. It is a total escape.
For sure. But there's so much I think we can learn by utilizing our minds to think in new ways and I think be intentional and deliberate about our thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's another concept in the book. So when we talk about starting from where you are, being great, doing the small things, and then small things become, we're both parents. Yeah. One of the things it talks about is being great at home. And greatness is defined in terms of how we do the small things in our homes, how we interact with our kids, how we keep our home, how do we interact with our neighbors around our home. And doing those things, it's made me think about. So my 3 kids now have left the house, but if my kids are still at home, applying this principle of being great at home, and how would you define that? One of the things I came down to in my reading this morning was how present am I in the home? when I am home.
Right.
When I'm interacting with those I love. How present am I? And I have to tell you, Kathy, I think I spent my entire 20s and 30s with maybe being present 20% of the time when I was at home, because I was thinking about work. I was thinking about what I needed to get done.
You were doing school, right?
School and all of the things that mattered more. They didn't matter more in terms of absolute exchange of time for value.
But they caused you more stress, so your mind focused.
So your mind focuses. Yeah. And I thought about being present and how important, that is for us to make certain. And so I've been trying to be much more intentional. Again, doing great things or small things in a great way, starting out by just being present in who I'm talking to, spending time with, am I listening? And it's hard to do that.
It is, but that's where boundaries are so important. Being like, because you can't have intentional time if you don't have proper boundaries.
Yeah.
So if it's like, nope, I'm not going to open my laptop for these hours, or I'm not, I'm only going to answer a text that something is completely on fire and it has to be done within 5 minutes, but then sticking to those boundaries, and then you can be intentional with who you're with. I remember, I've 4 kids, working mom, husband who traveled a ton.
Chickens, raising chickens. Well, that was when my kids got older.
But I just remember thinking, as soon as my kids go to school, everything's going to be easy. However, that's when my kids needed me the most, was in junior high and high school.
Yeah.
Because then they needed my time and my emotional energy instead of me keeping them physically alive. Like babies, I needed to keep them physically alive.
Yeah.
But teenagers, I had to be fully present.
Yeah.
A baby, I could be feeding a baby and doing something else and the baby still stayed alive. Now that's probably not my best use of boundaries, right? But when the kids come home from junior high and they're dealing with the world, you got to be there for them.
Yeah.
And it's so much more important, doing those little consistent things that we were talking about.
Yeah.
I'm big on family dinner.
Yeah.
And we did family dinner most of the time. And it was just so that we spent 1 hour together.
Yeah.
I didn't
That's
have,
all you get now. Yeah.
But that consistent behavior of doing those little tiny things at home made a huge difference.
Yeah.
I'm not going to follow my kids to school.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if one time I asked the kids, I'm like, do you wish I quit my job? And they're like, no, we like our lifestyle, Mom, please keep working.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, you don't want me at home. But at the same time, because we were consistently focused when we were home, tiny bits of time, 1 hour was enough.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to give up one thing, but I think it's that intentional little bit and thoughts.
Yeah. Doing small things in a great way.
All the time.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
And vacations with your family are awesome.
Yeah.
But we probably all get sick of each other by day 4.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. And you're this is too much family time.
Yeah.
But daily, consistent, being great at home.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're at home 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your kids don't want you at home 24 hours a day.
No.
You'll drive them insane.
No, in fact, I hear that. I hear that a lot from, we obviously work here. We've got a lot of professional women who are also mothers. And I hear constantly that there's this pull between, probably the difference between men and women is men don't have the same pull of, and I'd even use the term guilt at times of not being at home with the kids when I'm doing this, and societally, although it's very much adjusting. I'm watching my girls now, and they're in, I think, such a healthier environment today, whereby it's understood that yes, you can be a great professional and a great mother.
100%.
And the way you do that, and by the way, how many fathers, including myself over years, were terrible dads because we were so engulfed in work. As I just mentioned, I remember I was on a Delta flight coming back from Korea. This was about 10 years ago. And I board the flight, I sit down, right? And all of a sudden the purser on the flight and the pilot walk up to me and they say, Mr. Napierski, thank you for being whatever it was, a diamond medallion. And we want to congratulate you. You hit 2 million miles on our airline. And then, of course, they do the applause, right? And you're like, okay, whatever. I felt massive, like the entire 10 hours back to LAX, this massive level of guilt, because I was doing the math in my head that on average, I've traveled at least a week a month, since I was for 31 years at this company. So 18 years of my daughter's life, Savannah, I was thinking through that. I missed on average 7.5 years of her life being on the road. And as I was traveling back, I started to add up that it's not just 2 million miles on Delta. I have 2.5 million miles on United. I have 1 million miles on American Airlines. It's not a badge of honor. It's a complete demonstration that if someone would have come to me when I was 21 starting my career and said, we will pay you $10 million, $100 million, $1 billion to miss 1/3 of your child's growing up, I would never have made that trade-off.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
And so I had this enormous guilt coming back of like I missed it and I didn't even realize it. So fast forward, a couple of years later, Savannah, I took her for our graduating trip to Spain. We were at our Team Elite trip. She came with me. And we sat down with some local media and they were just talking about things and they were interviewing me with her there.
Yeah.
And one of the media ladies, she asked the question and she said, so Savannah, your dad's been busy, successful, whatever. What did you learn most about your dad? And her first comment was, well, my dad was gone a lot when I was young. So it's like this, like pain. But she said, when my dad was home, he was present. He was there. He never missed a game. He never missed anything we did when he was home. He was there. So when you're there, be there has become a principle for me. What I'm grateful for is my kids saw that. What they didn't see was that in my mind, candidly, a lot of the time, I was there, but was I present being there, or was I thinking about business? And sadly, up until maybe the last 5, 6, 7 years, where I've really tried to be there when I'm there.
Yeah.
It was at least they saw me as being present.
Yeah.
And now being there, but I think that's important that we, again, doing small things in a great way many times just means truly being there.
Just being there.
And being present and being intentional, because the older they get, the shorter the time. 15 minutes is a lot. A text matters.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
An intentional text matters.
Yeah. I mean, I communicate with my kids in Instagram Reels half the time now because but they know I'm thinking about them.
Yes.
They make fun of me for the things I send them because apparently they're old lady dumb things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm thinking about them.
Yes.
And they, and they'll reciprocate. Adult kids are a whole new ball game, but you know what? I have a better relationship with my parents from the time I moved out than I ever did when I lived
For
at
sure.
home. So we can still
That's
create those relationships with our adult kids. I still have one at home. I have one more year to impact one more child.
Yeah. She will be great.
She already is. And she's going to be even better.
Your perfect work.
But, we have so many more years to control our thoughts, to be great at home, to be great in our environment, to impact through the things that we've learned. Yeah. The saddest thing would be if you had that realization and you didn't change your behavior.
Yeah, for sure.
That would be the saddest part of it, is having it and not letting that thought take root and have you make different decisions every day.
Yeah.
You didn't quit your job.
Yeah.
You didn't even stop traveling.
Yeah.
You just decided, when I'm home, I'm going to be home.
Yeah. When I'm there,
right?
There.
Make sure your mind was with your body as you were there. But I think that is part of this whole being great and learning. And you know what? Old age is awesome. Yeah. I mean, maybe being in your 50s isn't old, but I think about how many things I wish I could tell my 20-year-old, 30-year-old self. But I'm telling my 50-year-old self, do these things. Yeah. Don't wish that you had known it earlier. No. change your behavior today.
Change it
Be
today.
great today.
That's
and take those thoughts and every single morning, reset our intentions, redo these things, like send the text.
Yeah, I think that's a great point of wrapping up on this is that being great is a daily pursuit, a consistent pursuit. It's falling down, getting back up, it's making the mistakes, it's yelling during traffic, whatever, like and just catching and and instead of condemning yourself, realizing I'm human, it's a process. Every day gets better, and I've adopted that as well, Kathy, is that like you never stop learning, you never stop growing, and therefore you embrace aging differently because you can truly gain wisdom, not knowledge, right? But actual wisdom of living knowledge through that daily or incessant pursuit of being great. So with that, I love it. Any last thoughts? No, just that. We'll wrap up. Koda, did you learn something today, bud? Did you learn how to be great? Yeah? Did you learn?
He barked when it was time to talk about fantasy books. So
fantasy books. We'll get him.
He loves fantasy.
Yeah, he loves fantasy. Okay. With that, so we'll wrap up now. Thanks for joining the podcast. Everyone. We'll see you next time.